Yeah, I've got time.
Borderlands art and animation, auto battler upgrade system, roguelike gameplay, tower defense strategy, horde shooter, dungeon crawler, a DRG drink menu, complex, simple, and fluid gameplay. This is Endless Dungeon. Welcome back to the 20-Minute Gamer channel. I'm your host, Nick. I hope you all had a chance to catch my stream the other day. I screwed up. This early access beta has actually been out for a bit, and I've been so disconnected with real life that I completely missed that this was happening. But we're here now, and I really want to shine a spotlight on this game, Endless Dungeon. So if you don't know about it yet, or if you're looking for the next great game, hopefully this piques your interest as well. So let's talk about it. So what is it? It's a tactical roguelite tower defense horde shooter coming in May from Amplitude. I tell you, I cannot wait. When I heard about the early access testing, I had a renewed sense of vigor, and I could not boot my system up. I could not install it fast enough. Endless Dungeon collates multiple different games in a Indian cuisine sort of way. And by that I mean culinarily, when you look at everything that goes into Indian or Middle Eastern cuisine, there's often a running joke that it shouldn't work. You shouldn't be able to grab 90 spices, dump them in a bunch of rice, and bam, you've got an award-winning biryani. But they do, and it works. And Endless Dungeon has done just this. They've collected about 10 different aspects of different games. They've pulled all those best elements together to create a game that's just breathtaking. Now, this is just early access beta, so please remember things are subject to change. But as far as this thing goes, it currently is checking all the boxes. If you want to continue to see Endless Dungeon footage, please like, comment, subscribe. This is definitely a game I'm going to be adding to my reserve, to my repertoire. But let's start from the top. Let's get into it. The art and animation, I always love this cel-shaded style art, your Myth Force, Borderlands type art. I'm a huge comic book fan, and when I see this type of art and animation, I really gravitate towards it. There is something about the colors, the exaggerations that pulls together and makes it a really beautiful project. They've also done a really beautiful job on the animation. It's simply profound. There are little things that they've done, like there's no reach back to put weapons away or pull weapons forward. No, they do this sexy little rotation. They've animated this little hand flick too with the weapon switch. It's absolutely beautiful. And they've done this really, really nice sidearm 1776 dueling movement that's just chef's choice. It's so good. They've really done their research and taken their time on this. And currently, I really feel like it's paying off. I kind of want to move into the gameplay, and then we'll also point out a few things within the gameplay as we're in there. The space station is set up in a really fluid, circular way. There's your drink master, your weapons dealer. There's this guy. There's even a wardrobe and a mirror for down the road, which I assume is going to be for cosmetics. So currently the general structure feels good. There's not many places to go, but they've also spaced out what's here so it doesn't feel cramped. They are spot on with their spatial awareness. And oh yeah, if you just want to kick back and watch the band, you can do that too. Just swing over right in front of the band. It will zoom in and you can just sit back and relax while they play you some tunes. Here, have a listen. When you're running around, whether in the space station or in the dungeons, the controller gameplay also works very well. It is a twin stick shooter platform. I play with the keyboard and mouse because that is just what works for me. I have played with the controller and I don't really see any kind of a difference or any sort of a benefit to the controller. I know that when it comes to twin stick shooters, some people are more comfortable with keyboard mouse. Some people are more comfortable with that controller gameplay. And I think you're really just going to have to play around and see with which one actually works for you. When you're in the dungeons and you're engaging, the system does default to a type of auto-aiming system. Now, here's the thing. This isn't From Space, The Ascent, Helldivers. There is a need for the system to offer that auto-aiming. The largest benefit of auto-aiming, I think, comes from the current non-existent targeting sight. The mouse cursor is the only aiming link you really have. When I think of aiming elements in other roguelites, this one certainly could take some cues. Even if auto-aiming is intended to be that primary source, I think that an aiming reticle could still help with better immersion with the gameplay. I think the only problem with that, of course, is your reticle could be off an inch from where you're actually hitting. So maybe let's sit on this one and see how we all feel about it down the road. But the auto-aiming is a nice touch. When you have a flood of enemies coming in, it's nice to have that snap to the enemy and know that you're hitting something. I don't feel like they've taken anything away from the tactical nature of the game by implementing that auto-aiming system. Whereas other games, I feel like, for example, From Space or The Ascent, I feel like an auto-aiming system would kind of take away from the fluidity and the actual drive that those games implement. Keeping to the theme of gameplay, we've come to the guns category. Now, I only played with a small handful of weapons here, but they've done another knockout job in giving you the right ideas with weapon usage. Here you can see this one highlights as it builds up to shoot. The weapons are also ridiculously exaggerated and fun. Why is this rocket launcher the size of a couch? The current character selection is pretty on point also. The character classes are overly generic, but they've taken their fresh spin on them. For example, you have your fighter class, you have a tank, a sorcerer, and even a medic or a cleric, however you want to identify that healer class. Maybe that's just what we'll call them, right? They have a healer class as well. Your sorcerer, for example, he's your controller on the field. Fireballs, AoE damages, placeable mines for fatal funnel control. They, of course, each offer some great gameplay, and I see that the developmental teams took great care in making them play differently enough that they don't play on top of each other. And what I mean by that is simply, you get a different play experience with each one, so you don't feel like the difference in characters is pointless. Some games come along and they offer all of these different class of characters, but then when you wind up playing the different classes, you realize, you know, they all play pretty similar to each other. So I'm just going to play this one by default all the time because I just like playing this class. These characters also each come with a passive, a special, and an ultimate skill. The dev team has done another great job in making sure that the skills make sense and make you play to the style of the character. The tank, for example, her passive is called Triggering. Increased damage the more times she gets hit in a short time. So it makes sense to let her tank all that damage at all times. Increase her degree of firepower. On top of that, if you've upgraded her and you've chosen certain upgrades that affect elemental damages, you've now got damage increase on top of those elemental damages. And if you're using the right element against the right enemy, I mean, forget about it. Like, they don't stand a chance. So my first impressions of the game are pretty sound. The procedurally generated maps lend to some pretty awesome replayability. There are so many wonderful nuggets of details and tips and tricks for the game. that will need to be discussed as well. But we'll probably have to leave those for closer to release due to the fact that this is a beta. I don't expect many of those things to change, but there's always that possibility. Thanks for joining me on this one today. Listen, this is a really solid title. I can't wait to jump on this more closer to release. I'd lock in on this one. You won't want to miss it. You stay safe out there. We'll see you on the next one. Nick out.